It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And I'm the Todd, and as always, my co-host right here on the 32081 Scoreboard Show, Mr. Anthony Richards from the Ponte Vedra Recorder. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great, Todd. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, listen, before we get it, I figure we're going to start off with bad news and then go good news, because that's what people like. So we'll probably do the Nease game first, and then we'll do Ponte Vedra second. But I kind of want to tease your article, because you and I were kind of talking about this, that, yes, we're going to talk about a Nease football loss, but the Nease athletic department's had kind of a heck of a fall here that you write about.
Oh, yeah. No, it's been, all the fall sports are kind of wrapping up, which means championship season, for all of them. And I know, Nease, this past weekend, they actually repeated as state champs in swimming, boys swimming. So the boys swimming team did their part, and now that's 2 years in a row. Now they've won the state title. And then on the Ponte Vedra girls, they repeated as well, but it's 3 in a row for them. So
wow,
so,
I didn't realize it was 3 in a row for Ponte Vedra. So both Ponte Vedra and Nease are just killing it.
Yeah, both schools' swimming programs are some of the strongest in the state. So and then PB golf as well. They're known as as a power, of course, with the TBC in our backyard and all that helps. But they won another state title as well. They're a boys golf team. So just Ponte Vedra and Nease. It's not, football is kind of wrapping up, but all these other sports are wrapping up as well. It's kind of fun to just see all these this new bling roll in,
Well, and it's pretty cool too, because let's face it. We talk about the rivalries, but there's some fantastic athletes in the area, and you always see it at the end of the year when they have their signing periods and stuff like that. There's always a number of kids from both schools, and it's great to see them both doing so well, not only in football but the other sports too as well. Oh
yeah, it really shows how this the wealth of athletic talent that we have, this area. And as someone who gets to cover it, I feel, blessed to cover it and just to help promote what these great accomplishments these kids are doing.
What's it like, real quick before we get into the football games, what is it like for you? You and I have gotten to know each other over this year as we've been doing the show. And, you talk about some of these kids follow you on Twitter. You get to know them. You talk to them after the games, stuff like that. And you follow like the swimming, the diving, everything, all these sports. What's it like for you when you start reading articles and you see these same kids that you covered in college or making stuff, or you see them on TV, playing on a college level? What's it like for you?
Yeah, it really is pretty surreal and crazy to know that, I covered that kid as a freshman, like at the high school level, and now he's, catching passes and making plays or, in whatever sport it is, hitting homers, at the college level. It's kind of just crazy to, it makes it feel really, really a small world to know, like, okay, and it makes it really special to know that you kind of have followed this person's career, and you've got to see them as maybe, I've interviewed people as students as a freshman, and they're like just yes or no answers. They're kind of shy, they're not, as freshmen as you expect from freshmen, and by the time they're seniors in high school, this may be the 10th time I've interviewed them in the last 4 years, and they're just got it down pat. They're confident with their answers. They're just confident, with the microphone in their face. And then it just continues on the college. And, I really think that the interview skills is one of the things that I am like most proud of, when I interview kids, because you can see the growth, and that helps them, even beyond, like, if they want to go, they're going to go get a job one day. It may, they may not be a professional athlete. They're going to need to interview. And so I feel like I'm also kind of, in a way helping just to kind of develop skills,
Well, I think that's no brainer, Anthony. I think the other thing too is that, I got to take my hat off to you, because you do a great job talking to these kids over the years. They get to know you. They follow you on Twitter. I see you after the games, talking to them, and their faces are light up or mentioning their parents. So you do a great job in what you do, and we appreciate everything you do to highlight the student athletes here in this area.
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Okay, so let's switch over to football. We got 2 games to talk about. Let's start with the Nease defeat first, and we'll finish off on the positive with the Ponte Vedra one. Nease, Niceville, 56 Niceville, 21 Nease. Nease got in the hole early with a fumble return for a touchdown. Then they had a block punt for a touchdown. It was almost like it was almost reverse for Nease, what we've been seeing since the Fletcher game. We've been so used to seeing the turnovers and stuff. But it seemed like they got into a hole too quick with Niceville, and they just couldn't claw themselves out of it. And one thing I know is that in watching that game, They really relied on the pass way heavily in the first half than they have used, the majority of the time. But it just seemed like they kept trying to fight out of it, but that hole just was too big. And then when Niceville got the ball, they were able to score, even though the defense tried to hold them and stuff. But it was a tough battle for Nease.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about going down early. Before you blink or get kind of settled in, you're already down 2 scores. And 14-0 or in that, and now you feel like, well, you still want to be balanced. Like in the back of your mind, you're thinking balance, but also there's a little bit of, we got to get this back. We got to kind of cut in this lead. So we need to score. We need to score quick. So you start throwing the ball a little more, and next thing you know, it's no longer a balanced attack. You are a little more heavily, one way or the other, and then it's hard to get back. It's hard to reel it back in once you just start kind of getting in that mindset of passing, and changing up with a run once in a while. So it kind of throws you off your game plan, and I'm sure
they didn't quit. They didn't quit. They kept trying to come back.
Yeah, no, I mean that's and that just shows, obviously we know this, you're a district champ, and you don't get to being a district champ without having that mentality. This is a team that they're gonna keep fighting. It just it's tough. It's tough to get out of those holes. I mean, and it helps that they were at home as well. The crowd was still behind them and the support and all. But also Niceville, I think they surprised me. Sometimes with Panhandle teams, you just don't know. Yep. They're over there. You just don't know that much about them, and they look like they're a legit team. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to give Bartram this week all they can handle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won that game.
Well, and the other thing too is I want to say this is that Niceville, you could tell they were used to this, because like I texted you during the game, sent you a picture of their little mini tent city over there that they had for their team. I mean, they've been here, they've done this before. So that kind of leads me to my next question. Drafts obviously has a very good foundation for next year based on this year. Okay, they really turn things around. Especially you look at the receiving core, you're only losing one receiver, I think it is. So you're returning that whole crew. Your defense is young. You got Jacob Curry, Noah Hodges. You got all those guys returning. They seem like, now they've got a taste of it. Do you think this experience, not just for the regular season, but when they make it to the playoffs next year, do you think this is going to help them have that little bit of extra swagger, a little bit of extra confidence in themselves, maybe that Niceville had that they didn't, since they hadn't, it's been 2 years removed, and some of the players on the team weren't there when they went to the playoffs before.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's definitely going to help because, the coaches can preach it, what it's like, what the atmosphere is like, even how to get there, the route to get to the playoffs. But doing it, actually accomplishing it, and actually being there and experiencing it yourself, there's nothing like that. So now that they have that kind of in the back of their mind, in their back pocket, then they can go in next year. And, sometimes you make these runs and you have a huge senior class, and so you just lose a large portion of your team, like half your team, like the majority starters. That's kind of how it was in Nease's last playoff run, but it's not the case this time. There's a nice mix. You're definitely going to miss that senior leadership and those senior starters and those guys that are a big heart of the team. But they've also been passing that along to the younger guys and who have got tons of playing time. And I mean, I'm excited. I'm sure Coach Drafts is it's sour the way it ended, but the future is bright, and I'm sure he can't wait to kind of already kind of get to those young guys and get them and molding them for next year already.
And you look at some of those guys, and like you look at the Bryce Fricks, you've got the Kirill Carter. I can't wait to watch him on Saturdays. And you've got like Big Mo on the line also. So you are losing some seniors, but it seems like the foundation's there. Where would you say probably the biggest question mark for Nease is going into next year with they're losing their seniors? Would it be the offensive line? Would Demo going out? I mean, where would you be looking at really for them to focus on strengthening going into the spring?
I think, the offensive line, and then, because 4 of the 5 starters are seniors. So you're pretty much going to have an entirely new offensive line next year. So and we all know how that's a unit where you got to know and feel comfortable and know what the guy next to you is doing, in order to, with blocking schemes and all. And if you don't, guys are, running through your line and getting to your quarterback. So that's going to be, that's probably going to be, I'm sure, the biggest part of it. And then also the guy that they end up snapping it to, who kind of settles in at quarterback. Because even this year we saw kind of, the guy, that made it out of the off season, isn't always the guy that finishes the year. So, you've got to have that kind of depth, at quarterback. And I think they do have that, but it's also just kind of, you've got all spring and all off season to kind of sort that out. And, you hope that one guy emerges as the obvious leader, of the team, which is what you want from your quarterback.
But I've got to say something for this team to do the turnaround they did from the previous season with a losing record, win the district, and go, to the playoffs. Like you said, I know it didn't end the way they wanted it, but for these seniors, some of which I've mentioned, they have nothing to hang their head low about. This was a fantastic season for them. They got everything righted. Like I said, that Fletcher game was the just a switch that I seem to have seen. That they went on a tear. I think they just really have nothing to be upset about. They should be very proud of the season that they had.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and obviously, every team says the first goal, number one goal is win the district. Win your district, and then you go from there.
And they did it decisively.
You in the tournament. Yeah, and they won the district. They looked the part doing it. I mean, and you beat your top rival in order to do it. I mean, that's, you can't ask for much better than a senior year. Like anything after that, a nice postseason run would have been, great and gravy and all that. Obviously, you want to just keep playing as long as you can if you're a senior, especially. But yeah, no, they can hang their hat knowing that they're leaving the program in really good shape, which I would think is a big part of being, that senior class. You want to leave knowing that you kind of left that legacy, and now you can go off to college, but you can look back and in the next couple of years, Nease is having success again, wins another district title, or goes further in the postseason. You can look back and be proud of saying, hey, we kind of started that,
So yeah, in closing, Anthony said it great. Congratulations to Coach Drafts, the whole Nease team, especially the seniors. You've got a season to remember by. You set a great foundation. So congratulations, and I'm sure Panther Nation is very happy for you and very proud of you as well as you end your season in 2023. Now, as we move over to Ponte Vedra, their season is not over, Anthony. Now, this is, we were talking about it kind of flipping during the week. Now, Creekside and Ponte Vedra had a low-scoring game last week. Then they come back, and now all of a sudden we're back up there with a 49-36 score. You and I in the past, you look at a score like that, you're like, oh, it was a shootout. Creekside got it, but no, Ponte Vedra got this one. You and I talked about it. I just don't think beating a team in back-to-back weeks is easy at all. And I think you gave Steve Price, time to look at it and look at the defense and the film again. And they came out prepared. And the one thing I will say is maybe he listens to the show, Anthony, because Brian Case had a phenomenal night at running back, but also they opened up the passing game, and Landon Okla, I think, had, 3 touchdowns in that game?
Yeah.
So they really opened it up, and that's something I've been waiting to see. So they look like they're good now, but now they have a tough test in Buchholz.
Yes. Yeah. And they opened up, they also had a fake punt, which resulted in one of the –
I forgot about that, yeah.
Landon Okla's touchdown. So, they kind of opened up, the bag of tricks, and it's postseason, so this is it. You're not going to play a game for a while if you lose. So, you might as well just pull out all the stops, and they did that, knowing that you got to win, you got to find a way to win. So it was definitely impressive to watch them how they bounced back, especially after losing the last couple games. It's kind of would have been easy for them to kind of say, oh man, we're not the same team, as we were earlier. What's wrong, But no, they just kind of looked within and, regrouped. And, that really, kind of speaks to the makeup of the team and the coaching staff.
See, in my mind, I think, and again, I'm not, getting in their heads, but this is just my take on this, Anthony. I think when they played Nease, that's a big rivalry game. You get up, it's at home, you lose. It doesn't matter if you're playing in the game or if you're a fan of a college or NFL team, whatever, high school team, you kind of come down a little bit. Then you play Creekside. And in my mind, I think it was more of a little bit of a wake-up for them because I think they knew in their heart, they're saying, we're better than this. We're better than what we scored. We're better with the defense. And I think it kind of level set them. And actually, in my opinion, I think that might help them going into the playoffs. Yes, they got a tough test at Buchholz, don't get me wrong. And if you look at I think Buchholz has never scored less than 30, and their defenses held the other teams, I think. Geez, did anyone ever score over 20 on them? I don't think so.
No, yeah, I think they pretty much, just complete domination.
Yeah, they just dominated. But that was the key. I think you're right. I think something switched. And now you've got Brian Case, like I said on Terry, you got Landon Oakley, you got Cole Matson, you got Joe Mahoney and on the defensive side. You got the Babbins, the Grecos. Now maybe it kind of level set them a little bit, and we're going to see them make a longer push. I mean, like I said, tough test in Buchholz, but I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a win here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like you said, like Buchholz is their offense. I mean, the closest anyone's ever got to them is like 14 points, I think, was I mean, so basically no one's ever really even come close to really testing them this year. So it's kind of, you almost wonder if they do, like if they do get behind early, and they're actually trailing in a game, what do they do? Like they haven't really been in that scenario for the most part. So it's, if Ponte Vedra can get up early, force them to be, kind of, play, even though they're at home, but like, feel like a little bit of pressure, a little bit of, we're playing from behind here, we kind of, throw the first punch, and that's, I think that would be big. And I think Ponte Vedra's defense they're actually, I think that they're primed. If any defense matches up well or is ready to kind of slow down, this vaunted Buchholz attack, I think it's Ponte Vedra, because they're only giving up 15 points a game. They hadn't given up 30 points all year until the Creekside game last week. So it's definitely strength against strength. Buchholz offense against the Sharks defense, and that matchup is probably going to decide who wins the game for the most part.
Could this game turn out being very similar to the FSU high school game we saw with Ponte Vedra earlier in the season?
I think so. That's a good, comparison. Kind of going on a little trip. Making the road trip. Kind of having that business mindset of let's just take care of business. I think Ponte Vedra loves to be in that underdog. They don't mind being in that underdog role, which is, they've been favored in a lot of games this year. So it's been a little while since they've been in that position. But you're definitely against, in that position against Buchholz. So, but I don't think they mind that at all. I mean, people, underestimating us, that's fine. Let's just go out and, hit them in the mouth and do our thing. And I don't think they're going to embrace the challenge. They're not a team that would definitely veer away from facing Buchholz, the mighty
Right.
Buchholz. So I think they're going to be ready for it. It's going to be an interesting one for sure.
Well, I think another case too. I was talking to someone from Ponte Vedra about this game, and one thing to kind of remember also is that it's only an hour and a half maybe for someone to get to Gainesville. So to your point, we're not traveling like 5.5 hours over to the Panhandle. If you're Ponte Vedra, you're saying, hey, we're only traveling 45 minutes to an hour, and plus a lot of people go to Gainesville for games and know a lot of people down there. So we're not talking that it's a huge ride or a huge labor for them to get down there. I think that might help them as well, stay a little bit more fresh.
Oh yeah, and they'll have the support there. There'll be a lot of Ponte Vedra fans, making that trip. So I mean they'll have.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah. It's a lot easier than making a 5.5 hour drive.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Plus, it's playoffs. You don't mind traveling a little bit for playoffs. You got to be there to support your group. But no, I mean it's going to be a good test. The one thing is I know Buchholz loves to, they do it on the ground. They kind of have this thunder and lightning attack. They really love to pound it. So obviously I think number one priority is stopping the run, or I don't know if you can stop it, but slow it down to where, and even if you get up, then it kind of maybe forces them to want to pass more. And they've got a talented quarterback, but he's only a sophomore. So, and one thing Ponte Vedra's shown is that they can pressure the quarterback. So if you put a little bit of pressure on him, maybe force him into a turnover, and just get his wheels spinning in his head a little quicker than he wants. Force them to pass. And I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to, in order to pull an upset, you have to be the one aggressive. You have to be the aggressor. You have to be the one initiating, getting that favorite, team in those positions that they're just not comfortable with.
Well, and I think that's the thing. If you look at Ponte Vedra right now with who they have, they've got Robbie and Nick Greco, of course. They've got the Babbins, so they've got the linebackers and the line to be able to put pressure on that quarterback. And like you said, it's a sophomore. He's a sophomore. So, if you get the pressure on him and then you force him to make some passes he's not, and you've got the secondary back there, with the Joe Mahoney's, as we mentioned, stuff, it could put them in a situation, to what you're saying, they haven't felt before. And how are they going to respond? And then if Ponte Vedra, in essence, can come back and say, put 14 points up in the first half, and that's, little, I'm just saying, let's just say it's a close game, they put up 14. All of a sudden, you might have Buchholz going, what the heck? We haven't given up 14, what's going on here? And you might see a momentum shift there. So I think this is going to rely on the Sharks defense to really rattle the offense. I think they have the players to do it. But I think if they're going to win the game, that's where they're going to do it, and then let their offense just come on the field and do their thing.
Yeah, and the one thing to look out for, though, is there was Creekside was able to run the ball and hit pretty good gash plays in the second half against Ponte Vedra. I don't know. I don't know if there was something that they had changed up at halftime that Ponte Vedra kind of put through, surprised Ponte Vedra.
Right.
But that's something it's just something I hadn't seen a team run like that against the Sharks. So I don't know if Buchholz can kind of, maybe find out some, a blocking scheme or something that Creekside did that actually works. That's going to be something to look for, especially if you're at the game, just to see how, if that translates over, or if that was just a one half kind of, okay, it's okay, that's not us, type of thing.
Right. Well, it's definitely sure that Coach Price and the Sharks are going to have a tough time down in Gainesville against Buchholz. So we wish them the best of luck over there. Anthony, as always, thanks for joining me. I hope we have a couple more shows to go. Hope it doesn't end this weekend, right? I hope we have more than just one more to go. But thank you, as always, for joining us tonight.
Oh, no, thank you. And, look forward to hopefully more playoff action.
And as always, like Anthony was saying, he was writing about the swim teams, the dive teams, the golf teams. Be sure to check him out over at the Ponte Vedra Recorder. Also, you can check him out on X. That is at ANTNY Rich. That is at ANTNY Rich. For Anthony Richards, I'm the Todd. Thank you for listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.